What's up, it's your boy Abebe Lewis, and welcome back to my YouTube page, man. And if this is the first time that you're coming on my page and you're checking it out, man, do me a favor, man. Down below, click the red button and subscribe. Then when you see the bell, click the bell for post notifications so you get a notification each and every single time I drop content, man. You know I love to drop content on YouTube. YouTube's like a good friend of mine, man. This is your Abebe Lewis, and what we got in store for you today. Let's begin. Man, today, I'm a lucky man, man. I got my boy, my friend, my client, my everything, man. The legendary DJ, Mr. Mixx from the 2 Live crew, producer, engineer, DJ, man. He's in town just working, doing some stuff. But, man, let me tell you something, man. He's going to give you some tips, some precious tips for you young guys or you an older catalog artist that needs some refreshing and some new ideas, man. Mr. Mixx is going to drop some knowledge on y'all, some tips. Let's begin. It's your boy, Abebe Lewis. Hobbs, man. Man, I'm lucky to have my boy, somebody that watched me grow up also too, from like a little kid, being around in the studio with my father, the legendary Mr. Mixx, Hobbs from 2 Live crew, the producer, the engineer, the man behind the scenes. Like, I love stuff like this because it's like an unsung hero. It's like, I feel like it's me, like a lot of us don't get that credit, but like I was there, I watched you, Hobbs, and I saw what you did for the city. 2 Live crew records sounded amazing. The clarity, before Pro Tools, before we could just go click, oh, take that out. You had to actually cut and splice tape, man, and you still doing beats today. 2 Live crew is still performing, still alive. Shout out to Debo, Lil Joe, Rob Dog, everybody at Lil Joe Records, man. But Hobbs, what's up, man? What's going on?
Hey. But every day above ground is a good day.
Yes.
And you can always learn something.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's why I'm in here with you, babbling on about this thing we call hip-hop, or whatever it is you want to call it,
So, Hobbs, tell us, man, like, we do, something for the entrepreneurs and people to learn and stuff like that, man. Like, what is it, right? What is it about yourself that you think made you last this long,
Just having an understanding of what it really is. And I didn't come into the game thinking that I was going to be in the game. It was really a whim. I learned to DJ when I was in the military, but I wasn't really, I was a musician, and I was actually in the Air Force, but I was around a bunch of, New York guys being in the military. And at that time, hip hop was starting to become an actual entity, maybe not to the rest of the country, but in the New York, Connecticut, New Jersey area was a big deal. So back in my day, they didn't have videos. It was really before MTV really got its footing, and they weren't showing any kind of rap videos. So if you wanted to see somebody DJ or learned how to scratch or this, that, and the third, you had to use your imagination to try to figure out what was going on if you wasn't from the tri-state area, from New York or whatever. So what happened is that guys like African Bambaataa, African Islam, Rocksteady Crew, these are early people from the early 80s. They would come to London, where I was stationed at, to do exhibitions. And me being on the military installation, we would hear about it. I don't even know how we got word of mouth that they were in town and this and that, but we did. We ended up finding out, so we would go to these different little events. And that was the first time that I seen scratching up close and personal when African Islam was doing it. So that got me interested in wanting to DJ. And when I got some turntables, some makeshift turntables, and start practicing, I'm the only person at the military base that had some turntables like that kind of setup in my barracks. So I was kind of like, I wasn't a star on bass or nothing like that, but it was, there was some guy in there that's, dubbing and scratching and stuff in the barracks. We don't know who he is or where he comes from, this, that, and the third. So I started getting a little name around the bass, and I was always able to practice because I wasn't really in front of people. I had to try to impress people. So I was able to just use my imagination and learn how to do scratching based on, from a musical standpoint. So.
No, definitely. That's one thing I do think that the military had a little bit, not to do with it, but it's the discipline.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've worked with a lot of people in the military that's also in the music business, and they're very on point with the discipline of getting up and being on time for meetings and just pursuing the things they need to pursue, you know?
Yeah, one thing that I will say is that young people, they're so quick to say I'm grown when they turn 18. You're not. Yeah, you're grown enough to go to prison. You're grown enough to, you have to be accountable for your actions. It's just you're not getting in trouble with your mom or your dad. You're getting in trouble with the world. And I think the military really puts you in a situation. You're not really being put in a kid's place, but you're being put in a position to where you have to assume responsibility for what it is that you're doing, you know. And a lot of people don't really know that there's another, there's a what they call the UCMJ in the military, Uniform Code of Military Justice. So you can get in trouble in the military in a way that you can't get in trouble in regular civilian life.
Wow.
So there was other aspects that kept people
on the right track.
Exactly.
Yeah, on the right
track.
Exactly.
And the ones that did get on the wrong track, they felt a different type of wrath that you wouldn't feel in regular civilian life. So there's a lot of different things that, and also at the time, you didn't have to, as a military person, your meals were free. Your room and board is free. You ain't worrying about paying a light bill. You're not worrying about anything that's just regular aspects of you being able to live life. So you have room to be able to experiment and do different little things. If you got any expenses, it's a phone. Or, back then it wasn't a phone. It wasn't even a beeper then. but anything that you put on yourself as an extra, like a car note or something like that, that was the only thing you was really responsible for. So you were in a position to where, okay, do I do this studio time or do my lights get cut off? We didn't have those types of, decision making that to be done. So just like you say, it was a very big part, not really thinking about it, but it truly was.
Yeah. Do you, I'm a young DJ. Well, honestly, what did you do first? Did you DJ first or you started producing first?
I DJ'd first.
Okay.
Because that's, I was, like I said, I was a big fan of electro hip hop, and that was a big thing when Planet Rock and the Johnson Crew, Pac Jam, and all these other different little things was going on. I was interested in the music, and I was also breakdance and pop locker, so I was already attached to it. So once I seen the DJing stuff, it made me more interested because I looked at it as an instrument. I played saxophone all through, elementary through high school and this and that. So I equated turntable scratching as like it being an instrument. So I was definitely DJing first, and the producing aspect is really funny. We was a pop lock group over there, and we got second place in this event over there in England, and we got like $500 worth of studio equipment.
Wow.
So I got a microphone, I got a little beat machine, and this and that, and that, it was an actual Roland 606, and I learned how to program it. And once I got an understanding of programming that, the Roland 808 program the same way. It was just a bigger, more deluxe situation. So I was kind of learning both at the same time.
Yeah. That's like some blessings right there. It's like you was guided, like, you know what I'm saying, exactly. into the thing. But let's talk like years and 30 years in the music business. Let's talk all that. Like, do you think, right, what advice would you give to like the other bass artists that was out there or the other artists that came during that time? Like, what advice would you give them? Like right now, like that.
I would say, the Miami bass scene wasn't something that was really marketed. We basically were marketed because it was a situation. We was kind of like, we wasn't against what was going on in New York, but we got a lot of resistance to what was going on with New York hip hop. The stuff that they doing down there is not hip hop. We don't even know what to call it. This, that, and the third, whatever. But we was making, impact with Miami, and then Miami, by it being, a street area to where most of the other parts of the South wasn't even really developed the way that they are now. Atlanta, it was no such thing as Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta existed, but it was
no groups.
There was no groups. There was no record companies. There was nothing. Everything was based off of what was going on in Miami. Miami thought process. Miami dudes that was taking trips up the road and all of that. They were just doing their thing in those places. So North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, they all took on the Miami aesthetic, and that's kind of basically why it's, you know, the way it is today. They probably don't even realize that Miami was so instrumental of making those places be what it was.
Yeah.
But you know, getting back to what you were saying, I just think that you just have to keep at it and make the records like we were making back in those days, because.
But do you suggest to make new records or just keep your hits and keep going?
Combination of both, because there's some guys that, you know, like these guys out of West Palm, Splack Pack, they had a big record, Screw Up the Ground.
Oh yeah, the Quavo just went. I heard that.
Yeah, he just redid it, but you know, he kind of messed the record up, my opinion. But you know, but at the same time, you know, it's good. At least it's a start. It's a start of being able to get some things going, because all we have back then was word of mouth. We didn't really have
Instagram
or people that would come from California or from New York to want to cover what was going on in Miami. It's almost like, you know,
was different. Like people had to fly in to see a concert and cover it as a journalist, or send somebody on site or something like that. It wasn't like, hey, take some Instagram pictures. Hey, let's just geo-map it and see what's happening there right now.
Yeah, and the only people that were covering it were people that was like in Miami Herald, things like that. But that's just local news for the local area. It wasn't really being branched out. The records were being branched out, but it's some crazy sounding music, wild, crazy music that's coming out of Miami. And at that time also, people wasn't really traveling like how they are now. You know, a guy in California could think that, you know, guys in Miami are lame about what they do because they on their stuff. The same thing about New York. So they just, you know, people wasn't traveling. People didn't have a respect for the different things that was going on in different places. So that's kind of like the big black eye that we ended up getting with not being marketed and promoted in the way like.
But like,
you know,
but now like you see all that, I dip, you dip, whoop, there it is, and all the records. You hear it just keep coming out. But like I want to get super like not nerdy but technical here, man. Like Hobbs. You know, it used to be crazy when I was a kid and I used to be in the studio and I would see you take a reel of 24-track analog tape, which tape, if y'all listening, is what you used to record to before Pro Tools, as y'all can see. Before digital, you recorded to 24-track analog tape, 16-track before I even started, but I always saw 24. Then it went to 48 digital, then it went to Pro Tools. But explain your editing, how you used to edit with the razor blade with the 24-track analog tape. Well, basically, and like explain like it'll be a word, and you got to chop that word, just like they chop it in Pro Tools.
I'll give you an example. Okay, what you would have to do, the tape. You know how you see. You know, most people only see tape nowadays, like when they're watching mob movies, when they watch the FBI thing, and the reels are moving around. You can tell something's being recorded. That's magnetic tape, and that's what the sound is being recorded onto. So depending on what speed the reels are going at, depends on how fast you are able to make the cuts on the cuts on the tape. So if it's moving slow, you can do a 1 count, 1, 2. There's a little laser head that's on the tape. You pencil mark one part of the tape, and then when it goes to the second beat, boom, you mark that mark. So the piece of tape was maybe about 12, 15 inches long. So that's one beat, boom, boom. One is at one end, one's at the other end. You fold the tape in half, and now you got the tape goes boom, boom, boom. You fold it for another time, and it goes boom, 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 boom. So that's where the edit mark, you would cut on each one of the folds, and then that's how you make the.
So, but explain. This ain't no Pro Tools. We can click undo.
Exactly. You're physically.
You can't click undo.
Right. You
ain't no like, oh, let's do this again.
Right.
No, you do it again.
You can do it again, but you got to do the process.
Yeah. You messed up the tape, or you messed up the tape, and it's some big time keyboardist or violinist. He want to kill you, man. It's not a saved file on Pro Tools.
Exactly. It's not a saved file. That's right. So you have to be
on point. This man, and tell him about the pencil. The pencil it's white, so it's like surgery. It was like surgery, man, to edit music.
So like, say my finger right now is the magnetic head. You would take the pencil, which would be my finger's an ink thing, and you would rub against the magnetic head of it. So then when you get to the next part of the magnetic head where the beat hits, you hit it again. So now you got an ink mark right here, and you got an ink mark right there. And that's where you take the tape and you splice it on the ink mark. You splice it right there on the ink mark. So what you would have to do is you would have to do this a bunch of times. You would have to re-record this piece of tape maybe 4 or 5 times. So if you do mess up, like what you say, you got 4 of them left to where you can keep on cutting.
That's crazy, man.
So it was, and there were some guys in New York. The reason why I even got into it, there were some guys in New York, this group called the Latin Rascals, and then there was another dude, Nunez, that was a magnificent tape cutter. He can make all of the stuff that, you know, you hear these dubstep and different people do with these things. He was doing that with tape.
Yeah.
So
my dad would always say, man, Hobbs gonna cut that tape. I was like, I didn't understand it, but as I learned, and then Tutus and Pro Tools came out, like, oh man, it's like cutting the tape, man.
Right, exactly.
But it's just more precise. Music was just at a different point and a different era. But man, 2 Live Crew, Hobbs, you guys were a huge factor. You know what's so crazy I used to see is the movie soundtracks. Movie soundtracks used to be so big, like the Fridays movie, man. Those soundtracks. You guys in the New Jack City. You know what I'm saying? Like, like it's just so much. Do you feel that Hobbs has gotten the treatment and the love you think you should have got from Miami? Because I think you top 5 like hip hop producer to ever come out of Miami.
I just think that people didn't know what my name was.
Okay.
I really, they know that 2 Live Crew did what it did, and Luke was running the situation, so a lot of people just thought it started and ended with him.
Yeah.
And by me not being, on camera all that much, even though I'm in the promo pictures, the group was my group. I brought the situation to Miami. You know what I mean? But I wasn't tripping off of being in front of the cameras. And even at that time, I was so much a guy that was just into the music. I wasn't tripping off of trying to hog the space or to speak in a way that, outside of it being music or, DJ inclined, I wasn't tripping off of the extras. You know what I mean? So that's why a lot of people know him for the so-called face of it and not necessarily me. But, that's just what it is. I mean, and at that time, nobody was really covering it. It was outsiders that was covering it.
Yeah.
So they really didn't know what was really going on internally.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I see a lot of people, I see LL show you a lot of respect. He always got you on Rock the Bell. So certain artists really, like myself, I want to know who did that beat. I don't want to know the rapper. Who mixed the song?
Right.
Who tracked the beat? Because it's not just about that. It's the little things about the song that I know that you need. So everybody's important to an extent. You know?
Exactly. And to add to what it is that you just said, the average person that doesn't really know how the music game really goes, that's saying things. I wonder who did the beat. A person will say, I don't care who did the beat. It's Jay-Z's song. It's T.I.'s song. Yeah. So they get accolades of all of it when they're only, it's a part of what it is. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So and the guys, the T.I.s and the Jay-Z's and the Lukes and all of it, they don't correct nobody on it. They accept the accolade. Yeah. So the guy like, even with Q, Jinx and some of these guys that did the stuff with the Public Enemy stuff, you wouldn't know that they were really involved unless he flat out said it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's the responsibility of cats that want to, some guys are self-serving. They don't want them to get that press because when it comes time to do that new album, like how T.I. handled on one of our other proteges, DJ Toomp, that used to be down there from Atlanta. Okay. He was supposed to have been a whole part of Grand Hustle. Yeah. But they muscled him out based on the fact he wasn't tripping off of being in front of the camera. So if a person don't visually know you, it's almost like you don't exist. Your music exists, but your physicality don't exist. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's how, so when it comes time to, okay, well, we're going to have to do a new album, we're going to pay you such and such and this and that. So now you don't have no leverage like a Pharrell or a Timbaland because they're on the camera. So they have a certain worth. Okay, you just can't throw me $10,000 for this. You got to give me 50. You got to give me 100. You got to give me $1 million because people do know who I am. So you just can't beat me by me being the invisible man in the studio. You can't do that no more.
So then let me get to the next tip. The next tip is, you said, as a producer now, or a DJ or an artist, not artist, but DJ, like behind the scenes, you should kind of like propel yourself.
Yeah, you can't, the days of being an introvert are no more. You're sticking yourself with your own sword if you do that. I don't know anybody that can naturally do that, but that's what happens If you're making the beats and you're doing this, that, and the third, and you know that you're the glue that's holding this collage together, if you don't put yourself in the front of it and let it be known, you know, you're doing yourself a disservice, because your own people will use that, the fact that they don't know who you are, against you. You know what I'm saying? And then the other little protege that wants to have an opportunity or a chance to make some beats or this, that, other, you get moved out the way to let that person get some beats. And they'll do it for little or nothing. They'll do it for, you know, a 6-pack of beer just to be involved in the atmosphere. So that's what you're dealing with. You have to do that.
Man, I want to thank Haas for stopping through, man. The legendary 2 Live crew, they still out there doing shows. They still doing concerts. They're still producing records. Their catalog is on fire. You know what I'm saying? Miami's on fire. Bass music is making a huge resurgence out here, man. There's a lot of people sampling it. People are still coming out for shows for it, man. I seen one of the most successful tours 2 Live crew was just on, out of the 90s tour. I think that tour lasted about 2 years, you know. Naughty by Nature, Salt and Pepper, and so much more, man. It's your boy Abebe Lewis, and we out of here.